These are a packet of 100 birch dowels with the mycelium of the shiitake growing on it. And you can see if you look in the grooves on those spirals, that is what is going to be inserted into the log, is that mycelium, which is going to then grow onto it. I like doing dowel spawn. Its advantages is that it goes quickly, it's easy. Before we begin inoculating, we want to choose our logs. What you want to look for is a hardwood log that is anywhere from 4 to 8 inches in diameter and anywhere from 18 inches to 4 feet long, or anything that you can carry if you want to go even longer. The reason that we're looking for a hardwood is they are much denser, and the species that we offer grow really well on the hardwoods. Pine won't work well. There are very few species that grow really well on pine. And also you want to not choose the cedar, cypress, redwood. All of those have antifungals that stay in them for a very long time, so you want to avoid those. So if you can find an elm, an ash, oak, maple, hickory, those are all fantastic logs to choose. So you also want to be sure that your log came from a tree that was alive and it was healthy, not from an old piece of no firewood pile or one that's been sitting around for more than 6 months. The reason being is that there are fungal components in the environment that are always trying to get into here. So if you wait longer than 6 months, something has probably already got into that log. Also, when the wood is cut, you do want to let it sit for about 2 weeks, because every wood has a natural antifungal in it. And after 2 weeks, those hardwoods that we mentioned, those have dissipated out after 2 weeks. So from 2 weeks to 6 months is the time period. If you're storing it for a while or at any period of time before you inoculate it, store it up off the ground. The more you can keep these off the ground, the less chance there is of another competitor getting into that log. And I want to leave my dowels sealed until I'm ready to use them. The next thing I'm going to need is a drill bit that'll fit these. This is a 5/16 inch drill bit, and the dowels are 1 inch long. I've put a piece of tape on there that's 1 1/4 inches down from the tip, so you can see that the dowel is going to just fit in there, and I'm going to recess it. You can see that I have some boards on my work table to keep this log from moving around when I'm drilling it. I'm going to start out on the top with my 5/16 drill bit, and every 3 to 4 inches I'm going to make a hole right across the top. So I'm going to start about 3 inches. Again, drill down to my tape. I'm going to go another 4 inches down. Now that I have my first row drilled, I'm going to turn my log slightly, and I'm going to go about 3 inches to start my new row, but I'm going to stagger them, and I'm going to alternate between the holes. The mycelium, when it grows out, these are going to all connect, and I want each of these that's going to make the diamond pattern to all come together. So I'm going to drill this next row 3 inches away from this one. And now that I have my diamond pattern drilled into the log, I'm going to start inserting my dowels. So I take one of the dowels, I simply put it in the hole, and I'm going to tap it in so that's flush. Now once it's flush with that hole, I'm going to tilt my hammer at an angle, and I'm going to drive it down so that it's actually countersunk and recessed in there. This is going to help greatly when we go to dab our wax in there, that it makes a little pool for it to sit in. Okay, this is a 32-inch log by 7-inch diameter, and I used exactly 50. So to get a sense of how far you can go with the dowels, this packet of 100 will cover 2 logs this size. We want to use a non-petroleum based wax, such as beeswax, cheese wax. This comes with our dowel kits, and this is a soy-based wax, which is biodegradable, and I like working with it because it melts very easily. It's easy to work with. You want to get an old pan, of course, and some heat source. You can use an old camp stove. So I have my soy wax melted, and I'm going to take a inexpensive 1-inch paintbrush, works well. I'm going to hold it near the hole, and I'm just going to dab the corner in and just put just a little wax on there. One of the common mistakes is to put way too much wax. It doesn't take much, just dab it. I'm going to let that set up as I work my way down this row, and I'm going to wait for it to just start to turn white before I rotate my log. You can see this is a nice solid seal. The wax just dabbed on there. It's nice and smooth. There's no way that any insects or competing fungi are going to make it in there. That is how your seal should look. When you see the wax begin to congeal or slightly begins to turn white, even in the slightest reheated, it becomes very difficult to work with at this point, and a lot of wax gets wasted trying to seal it, and because it doesn't have that viscosity, it won't settle into those little cracks in the hole, so it bunches up and a lot of wax is wasted. It is going to take anywhere from 6 to 12 months, possibly longer, due to this, the size of this one, and it's all based on how much mycelium you put in there, what your climate is like, how thick the log is. So it could take anywhere from 6 months to actually up to a couple of years, depending on how thick you go. The log that I showed you in the beginning of this video only took 4 months because it was a small log and it was a very, very aggressive species, as these are. So at this point, now that we're done, we're going to keep these off the ground. We want to store these in the shade, off the ground, and preferably in their permanent home. And during that time period of incubation, you want to keep them wet. So every week or two, spray them down with the hose. I like to drape a shade cloth or a plant blanket over the top of mine, and so that they stay even more moist. We're going to do a follow-up video to this one of how to get these to produce when they are ready, and I'll tell you some ways to know when they're ready, and how to initiate or force fruit these to get them to produce mushrooms.